Hi everyone, it's Abby, and I wanted to show you about this cool tool that I started using called Shorthand. I want to show you what I made in Shorthand, and then I also want to show you what I think about the program and kind of critique this little. I guess it's kind of a cloud-based, collaborative, immersive storytelling tool. So this is what I made. Here, let me scroll back up to the top. Oops, I apologize. Getting ahead of ourselves. So I made this cute little shorthand story about how to make coconut berry popsicles and kind of my journey on making these popsicles. Here's a picture of my daughter eating the popsicle. I talk a little bit how I've, spent a lot of time and wasted ingredients on making really bad popsicles and how I did some research into the science of popsicles and ice cream to perfect my popsicle making technique because it is super easy. And the cool thing about Shorthand is as you scroll, the pictures change. So there's a picture of me eating the popsicle, which was kind of fun. Then I have this part where I use some fresh mint, talk about, you should really put the mint in there. It's really good. This is another kind of section that I made on the tool talking about my ingredient list and the supplies. And, I set this image in the middle and then it has it kind of widened into a feature image in the top. Something cool was that in step one, I talk about making a coconut milk compound. And when you make this compound, I wanted to talk about what it looks like. And it was really cool that I could set the picture of the coconut cream can and right here. And then I could also use use this background image as something different to show kind of like what I was talking to the audience about as a little job aid. This is the second part. As you scroll down, the picture switches, as you can see, from what it looked like before I made the little compote and then what it looked like afterwards. Then I set it to, here's the freezer burn. I did set it to be left justified, but it looks like it's centered. Anyway, and then in the end, I have like some pictures that tell the story of people eating the popsicles. So I thought it was a cute little thing to do. But now I'm going to show you how to use shorthand and what I think of it. So shorthand on the terms of our story, digital storytelling rubric, it is a multimodal tool. And so if you see on the tool, I'm going to add like a little new story and we're going to start one together. Let's just do a blank story. So as you see, it's like a multimodal tool. You can add the social links on it. You can make an image perfect to use on Facebook and Twitter. So you can do a bunch of stuff on it. You can have these images set in the background that you can also make to be video images, as you see here as I'm flipping through. So that's kind of cool. The thing about the video images is they need to be looped, silent, and cropped to the screen. And you probably would have to take these images and put them into a GIF maker. I was trying to load them just straight from my computer after looping them on my phone or editing them in the Photos app, and it didn't really work. So I think you'd have to make them into a GIF, which you could do in Canva or one of those free GIF makers, just depending on what you have access to. So that was something that was cool, but also, kind of hard to deal with. I wish that these stories had an Instagram button too. I think that would be really neat, something I missed in the multimodal part. It is really original. Like you add all of these different sections and there's like the text over the meeting, the background scrollmation, different types of scrollmation that changes the pictures as you go. You just really have to think about how you're going to tell your story and how these different sections would be useful in your story. I think that I just jumped in thinking like, oh, you can make these sections anywhere. And it didn't really work out as easily as I thought it would. I really had to make it pretty easy, I really had to sit down and think about what I was trying to convey and not just use random sections. Another thing that I would think The originalness that I kind of have a problem with is that you can't really edit any of your font or some of these things, especially with the trial version. I think if you had a paid for really fancy version that you could, like the $1,000 a year one, you would have access to a lot more ways to make it your own. But I think on the lower end versions that most people would be trying to get, I think it's hard to make it your kind of original. Like I have certain fonts that I like to use and they're different for different stories. So that was kind of an annoyance that I had. I also don't like using themes or layouts or stuff like that. So it makes it a little hard. And I would say that it's a pretty cool collaborative tool. If you look back, you can add people on your team. You can work all together. A bunch of different really cool companies use it, for journalistic qualities. So I see the use in it. I just think that you would have to really pay for like a year subscription to open up some of the really cool stuff that you'd want to be able to do. They do have, let's go into the cost of it, just get into the nitty gritty. So the cost of it is kind of varied and it just depends. Something that I really had a problem with as I was working through here is that you have to kind of email them specific questions. Another thing that was really hard to do in talking about emailing them different questions was that it was kind of hard they had a lot of writing and it wasn't very accessible. Like if I wanted to watch a video of someone doing it, it was a little difficult to do. The cost is varying, just kind of what your needs are, going back to what my original point was. The license doesn't seem like it's too bad, but you would have to have something that you're hosting, and I'm not quite sure how it would work if you host it on the site. Something that I had an annoyance with is I've only been working with this for a week and kind of jumping in and out of projects is that they seem to be updating a lot. And when they update, it takes 2 to 6 hours before you can get back on the site again. And that happened at least twice in the last week for me, which I found as an annoyance as well. And then I think that they do sell some of your user data, which is not the best. As I looked into their license and publishing, it wasn't really one of the things that I found good. But I do think it's a great storytelling tool. I really loved making this. It was super easy to do. I think, especially if you're trying to make something cool that you don't want to have to code a bunch for, it really does the job, but it does need to be done for specific purposes. There are student pricings. You have to email them and make sure that you get it all checked out to have the student pricing. I'm still waiting back on that email and I sent mine on Saturday. So I think like just the replying back as a company should be a little bit better. And it just really kind of bothered me that to get any questions or any answers that you had to only go through email. There wasn't a place to look on the website or forms to fill out. I mean, they have their own forms to fill out on there, but you don't have an immediate answer and there's not really a set in stone way to do it. So I really hope that you found this interesting and you go and check out Shorthand. But if you would like, please send me your email address with a link and then I can add you on this and then you can look at my Shorthand page that I made since I didn't pay for the subscription. But I thank you and I hope you found this interesting and you think the Shorthand is a good product for you to use.